Hi, I'm Dave, WB9TEN, and this is the first of several videos that will cover installing and configuring PAT on the Windows operating system. In this video I will cover everything you need to do to send your first WinLink message. The procedures in this video are based on PAT version 0.17.0 released on May 25, 2025. The procedures for earlier versions are not covered in this video. PAT is a cross-platform, open-source client for the WinLink message system and is an alternative to WinLink Express. Unlike WinLink Express, there are versions for Windows, Linux, and Mac OS. PAT uses an internet browser for the user interface. This gives it a common look and feel across all platforms. PAT supports Packet, VARA, RDOP and other popular transport protocols. And, if you were wondering, PAT is not an acronym. It is named after Postman Pat, a character in a United Kingdom children's television program. Before I get started, I want to thank Martin Peterson, LA5NTA, and his team for creating and maintaining PAT. The purpose of the WinLink system is to exchange messages with other amateur radio operators. Also, WinLink messages can be exchanged with standard email addresses. Even though the WinLink system depends on the internet for routing and storing messages, the amateur operator can send messages from the field with only a portable computer and a radio. The WinLink message system consists of just three major subsystems. The client is you, your computer with the needed software, an interface to your radio, and of course your radio. The radio you use will depend on the bands you will operate on and software for the transport protocol you select. The RMS or radio message server is an automated station that connects to the internet. Each station is set up for a specific frequency and transport protocol. The RMS does two things. It receives messages from a client and then forwards them over the internet to a server in the next part of the system. It also retrieves messages from the server and transmits them back to the client station. The common message servers, referred to as the CMS, form an interconnected central location for holding messages on a server. It is the CMS that interfaces to the various email systems on the internet. These servers are run and funded by the WinLink organization. Before we begin installing PAT, there are a few other things that you should know. PAT is a single executable file named PAT.exe. You run PAT from a command prompt, but configuration and messages are handled through a browser session. Now, let's get PAT up and running. To get started, open Windows Explorer, locate C drive. Right-click and select New Folder. Then, select the new folder. Right-click it. And choose Rename. Now enter WLPAT. This is where you will place the PAT.exe file. To download the latest version of PAT, open an internet browser and enter getpat.io in the address bar. Then click Install and then Download at the bottom of the page. Clicking Download will take you to the GitHub online repository where the latest versions of PAT are stored. Scroll down the GitHub page until you locate the first link for Microsoft Windows. Click the link and the download will start. Depending on how your computer is set up, you may need to give permission to Windows Defender or your virus software to continue the download. The PAT file is downloaded in a zip folder. Inside of the zip folder is another folder with the PAT version and platform type in the name. The PAT.exe file is inside of this folder. Move PAT.exe so that it is inside of the WLPAT folder that you created. You can now start PAT from a command prompt. Now, open a command prompt window. On Windows 10, use the search feature in the lower left-hand corner. If you start typing command, Windows will autocomplete and then you can click command prompt to open the window. Next, in the command prompt window, change to the directory you have created for PAT. Type CD for change directory followed by C:/WLPAT followed by pressing the Enter key. To verify that you are in the correct location, enter dir and then enter. As long as pat.exe is in the list, you are ready for the next step. Now you can start pat. Type pat space HTTP and enter. This starts a pat server so that you can configure pat in a browser. To configure pat, start your favorite browser. In the address box, enter localhost :8080. This will open the interface to pat. Because you have not yet configured pat, the configuration page will open. First, enter your call sign. The Maidenhead locator is your grid square. Enter either a 4-character or 6-character grid. Finally, if you have a WinLink registration, enter your password. If you don't have a password, you will receive a message with registration information after you send your first message. That's it. The other parts of the configure dialog will be covered in future videos. When your information is correct, click Save Changes. The Restart Required notification will open. Until pat is restarted, you will not be able to proceed. Click OK. Minimize the browser. And select the command prompt window. First stop pat by typing Ctrl+C. Then restart pat like you did the first time, pat HTTP. Maximize the browser and now you can click Back to Mailbox at the top of the page. The main pat page opens and pat is ready to send a message. Now, you can compose a message. On the action menu choose Compose. A message form will open that is very similar to an email message form. Enter an email address or the call sign of another WinLink user. Sending a message to your own email is a quick and easy test, so enter your email address in the to block. Then, enter a subject and the message content. When the message is complete, click Post. Verify the message is ready to go by clicking Outbox and you should see your message listed. Even though the WinLink system is intended to be used for sending messages with a radio, you are going to send this first test message by using the Telnet protocol and the Internet. Telnet bypasses the RMS and sends the message over the Internet directly to the CMS. By using Telnet instead of a radio, it is easier to verify that pat is configured correctly without adding the complexity of the radio interface. To set up for a Telnet link, on the action menu choose Connect. The Connect Remote Node dialog opens. Above the transport box, is a box that contains Select Alias. Click Select Alias, and then choose Telnet. Pat will fill in everything required to send the message. Do not change any of this information. Click the Connect button and pat will send all messages in the outbox. You can monitor the connection process in the information window at the bottom of the page. When you send or receive messages, the information window will show the progress of the session. You can also monitor the progress in the command prompt window where pat is running. You can check for new messages at any time by clicking on Ready and then on Connect in the Connect to Remote Node dialog. Pat will connect to the system and download any messages waiting for you. To read the message, open the inbox and click on the message. To end the pat session, return to the command prompt window where pat is running and enter Ctrl+C. Pat will stop and you can close the window. In future videos, I will cover sending messages with packet on VHF, and VARA and RDOP on an HF radio. Before I wrap this up, I want to leave you with some online resources. The docs link at getpat.io, the pat website, has a pat wiki that covers many technical details. Also, the pat repository at GitHub has technical information including the changes and updates from previous versions. Browse to getpat.io and click the GitHub link. The Pat Google Group is an excellent forum to interact with other Pat users. There is also a Google group for WinLink. For information about the WinLink organization, browse to their web page at winlink.org. Finally, I want to recognize Jason, KM4ACK, for the work he has done with Pat on Linux. If you are interested in running Pat on a Raspberry Pi or other Linux system, his YouTube videos are well worth the time to watch. 73. Watch for future videos and I will see you down the log.